Checo, it is a fantastic result that we have seen at the Singapore Grand Prix. Breaking news, people. Sergio Perez has won the Singapore Grand Prix in what was a rain-marred, pulsating Singapore Grand Prix. After 3 years, Marina Bay saw the brilliance of F1 cars going around their circuits, but it was Sergio Perez who ensured that Red Bull had something to smile for. It was not such a good day for Max Verstappen, folks. He started 8th. He was on the grid, but he suffered a collision with Kevin Magnussen, and that dropped him to 12th earlier on. After that, there was a safety car period. He tried to make some big runs and he tried to go through the field, but in trying to overtake Daniel Ricciardo, what happened was he locked his brakes, just ran off the track, and he joined 14th. Another intense round of racing, and then we saw Max Verstappen finish in 7th position. So he is not the F1 champion at this point in time, and the championship still stays alive, folks. Charles Leclerc, the Monegasque, on the other hand, tried his level best to ensure that he got past Sergio Perez, but as much as he could try, he just did not make any headway. There was no problem with Ferrari's strategy, the pit strategy, everything was good. But Sergio Perez just drove a fantastic race and ensured that he got the win. So these are the standings as we have seen at Singapore. It was Sergio Perez in first position, 7.5 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc, then Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, and Daniel Ricciardo. Remember, the McLaren team did not have a good qualifying session, but they had a superb race strategy and they ensured that they finished 4th and 5th. Lance Stroll ended up in 6th. Max Verstappen in 7th. At one point in time, he was having a three-way battle with Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. However, when Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton were clashing towards the penultimate lap, Hamilton just ran wide and that allowed Max Verstappen to pass him. So Max Verstappen managed to even make up a place by overtaking Vettel. But on the other hand, he ensured that he could not seal the championship at Marina Bay. So Max Verstappen in 7th, Sebastian Vettel in number 8, Lewis Hamilton at number 9, and the final points in this Singapore Grand Prix go to Pierre Gasly of AlphaTauri. So it was a very, very attritional race. It began because it was already a half an hour delay. There was very heavy rain at Marina Bay, and that was the main reason why the race had a half an hour delay. The cars did the formation lap, and we were also seeing that the race was stretching towards the 2-hour limit, because remember, there is a 2-hour limit to in every race that happens. If you cannot complete the laps by the 2-hour time period, then you will have to truncate the race at that point in time. So out of the 61 laps, 59 laps were completed in the Singapore Grand Prix, but because it finished 75% of the race distance, every team got the full points. All the drivers got the full points. There were some very, very unfortunate incidents that happened, in particular with Max Verstappen, because as I had mentioned, at the start of the race, he had a collision with Kevin Magnussen, and that dropped him to number 12. But after that, there was a pattern set. It all had to depend upon which team had the best strategy. Mercedes, unfortunately, did not have a good strategy when it came to their tire management. There was no grip, and George Russell in particular was really, really struggling. Lewis Hamilton tried his best to make his way around, but he also struggled under the conditions. So that is why Hamilton just could not make any kind of impact, unfortunately. But there was a major moment in lap 36 when Yuki Tsunoda just ran off the track and hit the barrier. At that time, there was a safety car. When the safety car went back in, what happened after that? Max Verstappen was really trying to push hard, and he tried to make a place upon Daniel Ricciardo, who was 6th at that time. But he pushed too hard, he locked up, and his front tires were absolutely flat spotted. He ran off the track and he had to rejoin way last. The list of retirements is pretty long, folks, because this was a very, very attritional race. Humid, as well as rain. It was wet in some parts, it was dry in some parts. So that was why this race was even more intriguing. But you could see that there was general sadness when Fernando Alonso retired. Yes, he was driving a good race at that point in time. But a mechanical failure, and that is why Fernando Alonso unfortunately had to retire. Love Rami says in rainy surfaces, hard to cope up with conditions for drivers, but that is why it all depends on the tire strategy. Most of the teams, even in qualifying, Love Rami, in Singapore, when the track was semi dry, they went for the slicks. Slicks meaning that there is no threading on that, it's just dry tires, so that they could increase the pace. But for some, it backfired. There was a very scary moment for Sergio Perez also, because we were getting to hear towards the end of the race that he was being investigated for a safety car infringement. Remember, when Sonoda crashed, there was a safety car period, and maybe because he did not maintain a specific car length from the safety car, he was being investigated. There are reports that he may get a 5-second penalty or a 10-second penalty. We do not know about that, but for the moment, it seems Sergio Perez may have escaped a penalty. So that is one of the updates that we are getting, that he might have escaped a penalty for a safety car infringement. So the championship remains alive, folks, and we now head into Japan next week, where we promise if Max Verstappen finishes and he wins the race with the fastest lap, he has all but assured himself of the championship. Tonight, Ferrari's strategy worked and they secured podium. Good for them. Well, yes, they did secure a podium, but remember, Max is so far ahead of the pack that any kind of race, looking at the way how Charles Leclerc's strategy has backfired, especially Ferrari's strategy is backfired, you have to give them kudos that finally, okay, something did work for them. Wretched luck in the last 3-4 races for them, and it's been their story of the season. So breaking news for all of us who are joining us even now, Max Verstappen will not be the champion now. He will have to wait for one more race in Suzuka. He finished 7th in the Singapore Grand Prix. Sergio Perez, his teammate Checo, has won the Singapore Grand Prix, followed by Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. And Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, top 4 and top 5 respectively. So thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live. We will be back next week for F1 when it moves to Japan. And one hopes that Max Verstappen can become the 2-time F1 world champion. Press the like, comment and share button. We are also there on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, folks. Thank you.